everyone, my name is Chloe. Welcome back to my channel. I haven't made content in quite a while, but today I wanted to do a video just responding to recent events, and this includes the white supremacist riots in the UK recently, the murder of Sonya Massey in America, Palestine, Congo, and more. If you don't know, between the 30th of July to the 5th of August this year, there were these, I don't really know what term to use because I feel like riots, like I think of like how riots is the language of the unheard, but I wouldn't, obviously we're not applying it in this instance. Don't get it twisted, right? That's what I'm saying. That's why I don't like using the term riots. But okay, white supremacist mobs, I feel like that, to me, that sounds more appropriate. Not protests. We're not calling it protests, and riots, I'm a bit like, don't know about that, babes. But they took place across the UK, and essentially what happened is that these white supremacist groups used the murder of 3 British girls as an opportunity to recruit, further disperse misinformation, and fight back for the UK that they claim to have lost. So I think it's really important to emphasize that these groups, the way that they view things is that, you know, the UK now has Sharia law because or London specifically, a lot of the time they say this because we have a Muslim mayor, right? Like, this is the mindset, to give you a sense, especially if you're not from the UK, of how these people operate, right? And a key part of it is that they were saying that the perpetrator of these murders was a Muslim refugee. So you have the Islamophobia, you have the xenophobia, and this did not come out of nowhere, right? It is a representation of what the British have cooked up culturally. Whether you look at figures like Nigel Farage, Boris Johnson, who stirred up all of this racial hatred and anti-immigrant rhetoric because it benefits them, because it enabled them to gain political power and relevance and status. They essentially use the white working class, but also it's not just the white working class or people within the racial group of whiteness and those fears that come with whiteness to achieve success. And it's interesting because there is that class element, and I am a working class woman, but I don't feel any sympathy. Why would I, when you can't even see non-white people, racialized people, immigrants, people who exist outside of Christianity as human beings? Why would I? Why would I? Okay? And I don't deny that there is that class element in why they feel behind and ignored. But what they need to realize is that we are not getting any special treatment. In fact, the disenfranchisement that we are facing, you just don't care about it. Because if you did, you would see it clearly, okay? So they attacked a Southport mosque, and there was clashes between them and the police, and there were also like incidents of, for example, a white man who tried to attack a Muslim couple in a car with a hedge trimmer. There was another video circulating across social media of a black man being jumped by a group of white men. It was a lot to process, and I just remember that week going by and just being on my phone, particularly the weekend I just felt so overloaded. And I feel like we're all trying to navigate like what it means to be us in this country. That is always a friction that is there. And I think that for those who are white allies, right, we are used to that hurt. So I feel like a lot of the time there's kind of like this performative behavior, just as we saw with Black Lives Matter. And I do feel like we're seeing that right now with pro-Palestinian marches and just like the movement as a whole. I do question the behavior of some where it feels like the Palestinian struggle is being fetishized. But of course, this is not surprising to me, though it is obviously very upsetting. So I just kind of wanted to share my views on that. So I also wanted to talk about Sonya Massey. On July 6th, Sonya Massey, a 36-year-old black woman, was shot and killed in her home by Sean Grayson, a white deputy of the Sangamon County Sheriff's Office. Okay, so first of all, this situation, extremely upsetting, traumatic, and I just have had enough. And then also just like solidarity with Black Americans who are having to deal with this every day. I just really feel for the families who are impacted by the police coming in their house, the police stopping you in your car. You can't even just exist. You can't even move around freely. It's just really heartbreaking. And the family revealed that the police tried to cover up her murder. They tried to weaponize her mental health against her and say that her death was self-inflicted. But there was body camera footage of her murder that was released. And I feel like every time, as Black people, we always have to say this: I don't want to see that video. Please do not share that onto my I don't want to see Sonya get murdered, please. It's just, it actually just makes me feel like speechless. And Sonya feared that someone was trying to enter her house. She wanted help. And there is that dimension of Black people and mental health and the criminalization we face in those circumstances, which are like heightened when we have mental health conditions. And you know, in the UK, we recently had Chris Cabba, who was shot by the police in Streatham. It's a reflection of a world where we're not seen as human, where we're seen as deviant, when we're seen as inherently criminal, where we're seen as these sort of villains. And it's just really a lot to take in. And I think this is yet another example of how a lot of our struggles are interlinked. Can you live freely? Can you even exist in your home freely without fear? Gosh, the light is really impacting the shot, but let me just move over here. But can you really live, can you live freely? Your day-to-day, everything is just impacted by who we are, right? And there are clear similarities with the Palestinian struggle as well. I know there's been conversation around Black people should be focused on ourselves. We shouldn't care what the Palestinians are going through. But our land has been stolen. Our land is still being stolen. They are effectively trying to take us out because they see us as inferior. There are clear similarities. Need I say any more? It's quite obvious how our experiences of surveillance, criminalization, relationship to land, how there is an overlap there. And I'm hearing these stories of like a young girl and just young children in Palestine who are having cardiac arrest at age 4. I just can't. And, you know, when I think about the Congolese genocide, so M23 being a proxy for the Rwanda and Ugandan government, but then you also have the Western multinationals and governments who effectively want to benefit from the resources that are in Congo. So that is a huge element of what is happening, and wanting the access to the raw materials through child labor. And I read an article by a Congolese woman, and it was on a website called Women's Views on the News, but she was talking about how there is no room. Let me just read the exact quote. She said, "As a Congolese woman, I strongly feel that there is no room left for the victims. Their word is relayed by Westerners, feminist politicians or actors when they know better who rapes them, who rapes their children or their husbands." So I think even in how I discuss this, I'm mindful of that. As a feminist in the global north, I have privileges. And I think that's why it's important to center those that are impacted in how we have these conversations, like in just terms of me on this platform. And Congo has large deposits of cobalt, copper, diamonds, gold, lithium, tin, tantalum. And they have one of the largest in the world quality copper reserves. They're trying to break down communities through sexual violence. And it is several rebel factions, including M23, who are involved in the smuggling of these minerals and violent fighting for the control of mines. And these are the materials that are being used to buy us, to build our smartphones, tablets, laptops, and electric vehicles. So what role are we playing in this, and what are we going to do as a result? And then we also have the genocide taking place in Sudan. The mass atrocities are taking place in the Darfur region of Western Sudan. They began in 2003. You know, there's ethnic, political, economic tensions between the Sudanese government, which is controlled by an Arab-dominated elite, and then you have the non-Arab ethnic groups in Darfur, which are primarily African. And when I was doing research on this, there was a key element of like the relationship between the Arab government and them wanting access to gold. So you can see that there's a clear pattern here. Oil, and you have the non-Arab ethnic groups pushing back against that marginalization and experiencing violence in result in the form of armed militias, which were there to crush the rebellion, people being displaced, systematic rape, killings, torture, the destruction of villages. In 2022, Sudan exported 2.32 billion in gold, with the UAE receiving 2.29 billion of that. And other destinations for Sudanese gold exports included Italy, Egypt, and Turkey. So just like Congo, there's a conversation about like who is benefiting from genocide, what benefit is gained and by who. So I just really wanted to give like a roundup of those situations, because I didn't really talk about it on my channel. As someone in the West, it's literally the least that I could do, and it's something that I want to continue taking time to learn about and to read about. But that comes to an end for me in terms of this video. I will put links on the screen in terms of donating to the situations, the causes that I mentioned in this video. I'll also put them in the description as well. And I'll see you in my next video, hopefully.